And Catherine, do you want to do the
introduction? Yeah. All right. So we're the Female Product Lead community, and our vision is inclusive product leadership. We want to empower women and every underrepresented voice in products to grow, lead, and connect. We want to create a future where people, regardless of your gender, neurotype, ethnicity, or your background, we want an environment where you can thrive and feel empowered in inclusive team. And here, these are the lovely faces. Well, we are run by a group of volunteers. These are the lovely faces behind the community. Feel free to join us if you're not already a member. Next slide is going to have a QR code for you to join the Female Product Lead community. We're a supportive community that helps to that pushing for inclusive product leadership across teams. Here is our next 3 events. We have loads of events coming up for the rest of the year. So if you'd also like to volunteer to help us to support in the events, time, in graphics, or in any area to support the Female Product Lead community, feel free to join us. And there's a QR code there to be a part of this event. Register, come along. Our next event in person is October 2nd. And next 2 events after that, we have Optimizing Your Energy for Success, October 16th. We also have various events that you can access on our Luma link. So scan the QR code so that, and subscribe to our Luma channel too, so that you get notified of any upcoming events as we go along. And that's it about us. And I'll now hand back to Anna to introduce Claire and Flo.
Great, thanks, Catherine. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got Claire and Flo here from And Digital joining us today. They will be running the session on influencing styles. To give you a quick picture of who they are, Flo is a product manager. She's got about 6 years of experience leading high-performing teams in e-com and the finance sector. While Claire has been a coaching partner and she's been working with And Digital for the past 4 years. She's been helping teams and leaders build their capability, reach higher performance, embrace innovation. And prior to this, Claire worked in a variety of roles across product and delivery for some of the UK's biggest brands. So yeah, we've got loads of experience across the 2 of them today. So really excited to see what they've got in store for us and sharing what they've learned in terms of influencing styles, and hopefully everyone can take some good stuff away from the session. Don't forget Slido for questions. I'll let Claire share her to the actual session. Over to you.
Thank you, Anna. Hopefully you can all see my screen now. Brilliant. Thank you very much, and welcome everybody for our session where we're going to be exploring influencing styles. As Anna said, there is a Slido running for Q&A, and also we've got a couple of interactions throughout. But please get your questions in there. We're going to take questions at the end if that's okay with everybody, but as they come to your mind as we go through, please feel free to get them. So we thought in our introduction for ourselves, we'd talk about some of the times that we'd be influenced, and mine might be familiar, hopefully, to some of you, because quite recently I got on board with this trend that it was going around LinkedIn, certainly, and maybe some other social media around using the ChatGPT or the AI tool of your choice to create a sort of blister pack doll of yourself. And here's mine. I've got the head gardener because gardening is one of my big hobbies. I love that. And I'm also, I've got a black cat. So and I'm a cake lover as well. So that's a trend that I was influenced on recently. How about you, Flo?
Yeah, well, I'm in the middle of renovating my kitchen. So I'm being massively influenced by Instagram and Pinterest. And I just keep looking at all these gorgeous kitchens that I probably can't have in mind, but yeah, massively influenced at the moment by that.
Brilliant. So we'd love to get some early interaction from you, and you are welcome to either use the chat Or if a couple of you want to put your hand up and share, that's also, would love to hear from you. How have you been influenced recently? What's influencing you? You can see a response there already about Pinterest.
Oh yeah, happy to share the kitchen boards.
Influenced by AI brands heavily lately. Oh, that's interesting to hear. What else is interesting you all? Yeah, do tell us more, Meg. See some people typing. I'm eagerly awaiting your responses. What's influencing you recently? Oh, Jade, the weather. You want to be cozy. Yep, I hear you. Amy, thank you. People showing TikToks of holidays. That's always a big one. Nice to see where other people are going and see what options you might have. Yeah. Amy's also influencing everybody else, including people watching back later who will now want to go on holiday. Workplace psychology. Oh, it's not boring. It's really interesting. Why so many are finding work such a grind at the moment. Enterprise level AI products, multi-language, also really interesting and topical. Lots of LinkedIn posts with varying success. Social media about how bad social media is, especially back to school things, making it feel like the start of a new year. Yes, for all of us, even those who've left our school years behind. And autumnal coffee trends, not on the pumpkin spice hype, but the spiced pecan latte. That's a good recommendation. Thank you very much. And thank you for everyone who shared your responses there. If anyone wants to keep responding, please do. But it's great to hear from you. Please keep the interaction up. So, what is this session? Well, we're going to be talking about the high stakes application of influencing styles, what the key styles are and when to use them, how you can flex your style to navigate complex stakeholder dynamics, and how you can amplify impact without direct authority, so you can build your confidence to be able to do that. Oh, and I've just seen a lovely one about the wonderful women around you. That's lovely. Thank you. So, moving on. Well, what is influencing? Does anybody want to share? There's no right or wrong answer. It might be a matter of perception. But what do you think influencing is? Anyone going to be brave and shout out a potential answer? Oh, I can see one in the chat. Inspiring others to act. Thank you. Love that. And that's getting lots of love in the chat. Thank you, Marissa. Changing the behaviours of others, helping others to understand your vision, bringing others on the journey. What else? Changing opinions or actions, getting people to align with you, new perspectives. Interesting and really lovely to hear. Being succinct. Nice. Thank you. Do see a little bit more typing going on, so we'll see if we get any more responses, views on what influencing is, having an impact on somebody or something. That's brilliant. Thank you, everyone. And like I said on the last question, please feel free to continue if you've got more ideas that you wanted to add. Our point of view hopefully aligns really well with a lot of the things that you've said. We think that influence is about communicating and working with others with a desired outcome in mind, something that you want to achieve, which might be making a change or having an effect, but without using force. Thank you everyone so much for getting involved, and I'm going to hand over to Flo.
Brill, thanks. Yeah, so another chance to sort of give us your thoughts. What do you think some of the core skills involved in influencing others are? So if you have influenced others or would influence others in the future, what do you think the skills are that you would need? Like Claire said, feel free to shout out. I know a lot of you maybe are working in co-working, so you want to type. Empathy, yep. Listening, active listening, getting a lot of empathy. Communication, yeah, clearly articulating. Storytelling, curiosity, these are brilliant. Persuasion, selling, yeah. Understanding others' points of view. Persistence, yeah. That one's often overlooked, but quite often needed, I think. Stage presence, nice. That's a nice way of putting it. Bringing your vision to life and creativity. These are brilliant. Yeah, so some of these you've mentioned, some of them may be slightly different to what you said, but observation, so paying close attention to verbal and non-verbal cues, better understanding situations and people. We've thought about emotional intelligence, so understanding and managing your emotions, recognizing other people's emotions, assertiveness and persistence, so confidently expressing your views, consistently working towards your goals. And then, strategic thinking, so innovation, problem solving, being able to develop creative solutions and new approaches to challenges. Storytelling, which I think somebody mentioned, engaging and persuading others by sharing compelling narratives. Negotiation, so reaching mutually agreeable solutions through discussion and a little bit of compromise. Well, fab. So moving on then to influencing styles. Dr. Tim Baker is an international consultant, executive coach and author, and he specialises in leadership and organisational development. He's known for his influencing framework, which describes 4 strategies of influence. So investigation, calculation, motivation and collaboration. And each of these combines either a push or a pull style with a logical or an emotional approach. So going into what those are then, a push style is a direct, assertive way of getting your point across. And a pull style is a more indirect, subtle way of persuading others. So to influence logically, you'd use facts and rational arguments to make your case. And with the emotional approach, you tend to tug at people's heartstrings to get your way. And each of the strategies can be highly effective if they're used in the right circumstances. So let's break down each style a bit. So we've got investigation, it's push, logical. So if you're an investigator, you'll use powerful facts and figures, charts and graphs to advance your argument. You're more likely to be methodical and structured in your approach. As a calculator, you'll prefer to promote the positive aspects of a proposal and highlight the weaknesses in the current position. People know where they stand with a calculator. You use clear logic to advance your cause, and you're generally a good debater. If you're using motivation, so that's push and emotional, you'll likely be a big picture thinker who's able to link a case with a compelling vision of the future. Motivators often have a way with words, and they can create a simple and convincing dream that brings people along with them. And collaboration, so that's pull and emotional. Collaborators are great team builders. They engage people's hearts and minds by using emotion and involving them in the decision. So a bit of time for self-reflection then. Each of us does tend to have a default influencing style, and we naturally lean towards one. So have a think about where you might fit on this graph. Which one resonates the most with you when you come to try and influence somebody? So there's a bit of an opportunity here, I think, to get involved. So if you scan the QR code on the screen, you should be able to type your answer. If you have trouble with that, feel free to just pop it in the chat. But we thought it'd be really interesting to get an idea of how we're split. So if you can follow the link to the Slido there and put what you think, what influencing style have you used most recently? What are you most drawn to? Collaboration is massive at the moment. Oh, motivation, kind of closely behind. Yeah, a mix of different styles depending on the situation, definitely. That's often the most effective way to use it. Brilliant. So we've got, collaboration at the top there, motivation, calculation, and then investigation, bringing up the rear. Cool. So speak to people the way you want to be spoken to. This might be familiar. We might have been told this as a child. Speak to people the way that they want to be spoken to. And this is often the key to influencing. So identifying how others prefer to be spoken to and flexing your style accordingly. So if you adapt your approach, you increase your chance of successfully getting your message across and achieving your desired outcome. It's about meeting people where they are rather than expecting them to meet you where you are. And I think some people mentioned that in the chat before. So a quote by Dale Carnegie then: "I love strawberries, but whenever I go fishing, I bait my hook with worms. This is because fish like worms, not strawberries." So Dale Carnegie was an American writer and teacher of courses in self-improvement, salesmanship, corporate training, public speaking, and interpersonal skills. He was born into poverty on a farm in Missouri, and he was the author of How to Win Friends and Influence People, which might be familiar to some of you. So this quote highlights understanding your audience is key. To influence effectively, you must offer what they value, not just what you prefer. It's about adapting your approach to their preferences to achieve your goal. So we've got a little bit of a game or a quiz. What's their style? So see if you can guess the sort of influencing style that Marie Curie used. She was methodical, focused on scientific facts and experimentation and data. She advocated strongly for her findings in a field that was mostly dominated by men, and she used research, evidence, and logic rather than emotional appeals. Anyone want to shout out or have a guess about what influencing style Marie Curie used? So we've got a couple: investigative. And when it comes to push or pull, emotional or logical, where do we think she fits? Got a lot of logical, push, calculation. Yeah, so she was an investigator. Push and logical. Her approach was direct and rooted in empirical evidence. So yeah, most of you got that right, well done. Okay, so the next person we've got is Angela Merkel. Obviously known for building consensus using logic and persuasion. calmly weighing the pros and cons of any situation, and leading more through reasoned arguments and careful positioning than assertive demands. So where do we think Angela sits? Push or pull? Logical, emotional? Any guesses? Push, logical? Calculation? Pull, logical? Brilliant, thanks for the guesses. Yeah, so pull and logical, so a calculator. Former Chancellor of Germany, obviously. She was widely recognised for her rational, analytical approach to leadership and diplomacy. Her style is logical and not overtly emotional, and she's subtly influential. Okay, Oprah. Renowned for stirring audiences, painting a compelling vision of what's possible, and mobilising support and action through inspiring big picture storytelling. So what's the influencing style that Oprah uses? Bex's spirit animal. Push, emotional. A lot of people are saying emotional. Pull, emotional. Yeah, so Oprah uses a push and emotional style, so she's a motivator. Her influential style is grounded in emotional connection. Her speeches and campaigns routinely move people by touching their hearts, reflecting a strong and emotionally charged influencing method. Brilliant. And the final person, Jacinda Ardern. Celebrated for her empathetic and inclusive leadership style, she engaged people in collective decision-making, built unity, listened actively, and fostered community spirit while she was in power. So what was her influencing style? Oh, sorry, Bex. Oh, Anna, you'll have to tell me how that book is, because I've been thinking about buying it as well. So she used a pull and emotional style. So she was a collaborator. Yeah. Her responses to crises embodied emotional resonance and collective collaboration. Well done.
Thank you, everyone. And I know we said we'd answer questions at the end, but I could see a few people had asked about push versus pull. And so as you said yourself, a few of you said you might flex between a few. So none of these people, we don't want to sort of pigeonhole them entirely. So you may have seen them using multiple styles. But how I might characterize the difference between push and pull, a pull person, you'll probably see them asking more questions. And a push person, you might see them more overtly signaling one specific opinion or recommendation or viewpoint, or the thing that they want to gain buy-in to, the thing that they want to be influential about. I hope that is a little bit more clearer. So step one, you've looked at some people and you've worked out whether they like fish or worms or what style they might use more themselves. And hopefully that those examples have helped to bring those to life a little bit more. Now, observing someone else's personal style might help you to influence how you tailor your approach to them. So how are you going to bait your hook? What's the thing that might resonate most with them that could be their own style? And how might you want to adopt something that's potentially a little different to your default, or one of the many things that you've got in your tool belt for maximum influence with a particular person? Or where might you start? So for investigators, someone found who's more in a pushing stance and guided by logic when influencing. As we said before, like they might do themselves, you might want to start with facts and figures. They want to see that the recommendation or the decision adds up and what results they should be expecting to see. And also you might want to join the dots for these people. Really probably a good tip for anybody, but don't rely on them having to make a leap between different ideas. Show them where the links are, how one thing should lead to another. Really explain the why for them. And in terms of the kinds of things that you might be saying, because they could be more influenced by data or facts, make it really obvious when you're using these. You might be using words like evidence, results, data, to really bring home the fact that it's not an opinion, you are talking about something that's backed up by data. And also be assertive in what it is that you're recommending or pitching, and make it a statement rather than a question. So things like, we should. Moving on to calculators. So these are people who might be more in a pull stance, but still guided by logic. For these people, you might be talking about opening up to more different options and weighing them up. Again, they're quite logical, so they might want some facts and figures. But you've still got a viewpoint, you still want to influence them in a particular direction. So make what your recommendation is clear. And as I said, when I tried to draw that contrast between push and pull, because the calculator's more of a pull stance, they might be using more questions with them. So this might be things like, what do you think aligns best? You've got your own point of view, and you know which option you believe in, but you're asking them the question, and what are the risks? But you might be leading them towards an outcome that you think makes the most sense and should be supported. Next, on to motivators, who are push and emotional. These people really like to have a picture painted for them. So you might be using really descriptive, visionary, inspiring words with them. And also they might be more motivated by hearing about the people involved. So in that picture, bring if it's relevant, the human elements, what's happening with the people involved. And in terms of specific language, you might want to use words that invite and encourage them to do that painting of the picture in their heads, like imagine, and also thinking about the impact. And last but of course not least, collaborators, who are pull and emotional. Collaborators like to build on each other's ideas. So you might be leaning to yes and that little bit of improv to encourage that collaboration and getting them involved. And also with collaborators, it might be important to show your appreciation because they love the collaboration. And again, in terms of language, you might be asking them, what do you think? How do you feel? Onto another interaction via Slido, because we're going to move on to thinking about if somebody you wanted to influence was specifically an exec or a very senior leader, is there anything that you might do differently versus a peer or a different person? Please, again, either scan the QR code or go to slido.com and enter 4283375. I think there's a link in the chat, and share your thoughts. I can see people typing away, so please get involved. Yep, one response there. Thank you. Be more pull and push. Be intentional about how you speak to them, acknowledging their style. Ensure the proposal ladders up to their goal. Top line, high-level vision as the focus. Use logic. Thank you, everyone. Keep them coming. Join the dots and offer options. Fire them up with emotion. Nice. Get to the point. I can still see people typing, so please get your answers in, and we'd love to hear from you. What's in it for them? Be genuinely interested in their business goals and supportive of their vision. Keep the message compact and meaningful. Try to avoid friction, make it easier or a no-brainer for them to say yes. Succinct, start with a hook to get them interested. Brilliant. Thank you so much, everybody. And if you are still adding something, please feel free to still submit more responses. So you said it already, get to the point. Time is probably most in high demand for these people, and you need to make both an impression and get your point across quickly. There are various ways that you could do this. It could be an exec summary, an elevator pitch, or a clear and compelling headline, that hook that someone mentioned. If this is something that doesn't come naturally, there's a book called Right to the Point by Sam Leith, if it's something where you can lean on written word, but also you find lots of guidance online. But also these days, you might find that even basic AI tools are now really good for helping you to be succinct and get to the point quickly. And all you need is a bit of basic prompt engineering to make sure whichever tool you use knows who your audience is and that you want it to be succinct. In fact, you could write something yourself and ask it for it to critique you and suggest some improvements. Although finding the win-win, or where what you want and what they want overlaps, is a sweet spot for influencing anyone, it can be even more critical with execs, as they're the people most likely to make something happen by lending their support or kill it off by rejecting it. So again, as somebody submitted in the poll, remove the friction, find the thing that's easy for them to say yes to. And it won't be universally true, but the most compelling way that this might show up is where what you're pursuing is aligned and contributes to the organisation's strategy or their strategy. If your work has this value, your idea, your proposal, then you should make this abundantly clear. Like I said earlier, join the dots. And our last recommendation for influencing at C-level is to be prepared. You distilled your message right down, but you might get asked some questions. So try to prep for those by thinking about what it is that you might get asked and making sure that all that additional data and context that you cut out so that you could get to the point is still at your fingertips if you need it. And like I said before, we don't like to put people in pigeonholes, but if you really don't know the person well at all, then your best bet might be to at least think about treating them like an investigator. So leading with data and an assertive style. It's likely, even if that's not their own default style, that it's a style that they'll be used to amongst their peers. And what about skip level influencing? Well, many of the general things we've talked about, like understanding that other person's style, might be equally relevant still. Or perhaps this person is C-level or close to it, and our thoughts on influencing there make more sense. So you might be taking a pinch of this, a pinch of that. But whatever you do plan for, there's one thing we definitely encourage when it comes to skip level influencing, which is to be transparent about what you're doing. So firstly, with your manager or your senior, the person that you might be skipping, without transparency, then that person might feel like you've gone behind their back. They're a human too, and they're probably as likely as anyone else to have some insecurity triggered by you doing that without speaking to them. If you explain that you're doing it and why you're doing it, there might be find that there's a gap that you both have, and maybe they will join you and support you. But also, maybe they can give you some contacts that will help you be really successful. And you could help them feel more comfort by understanding what the scope is and what you hope to achieve. And with the more senior person, they may equally worry that you've gone behind your manager's back. So you could, if you've been really transparent, you could acknowledge that and be clear that it is them that you want something from. Because another pitfall potentially is that they delegate it back down to your manager. So you could be really clear what the scope of the thing you're talking about is, and that it is them that you want to speak to. Well, Maybe that all sounds really easy. Maybe it doesn't. Influencing others is very much an acquired skill, and even the most skilled influences haven't got there overnight or are always achieving the outcomes that they want. There's lots of different reasons why influencing can fall short. You can have misunderstandings. There could be that you haven't got the level of trust that you need, or maybe you've got a fundamental lack of common goals, or worst case, even competing goals. Understanding those common barriers is essential to improving how we influence and increases our chance of being successful. So, some potential pitfalls and how to avoid them. Well, I talked about flexing it potentially into another style. We definitely would recommend that you don't do anything that makes you feel inauthentic. So make sure you're being genuine, and also make sure you're respecting boundaries. Avoid over mimicking others, and make sure that your approach feels sincere and respectful. Avoid really rigid assumptions about influencing styles. People are really complex, don't always neatly fit into one. You treat different interactions as unique, and just because somebody is usually direct, it doesn't mean that they're not open to a different approach, that being direct is the only way they can be influenced. And even with one person in different situations, you might need to flex what style you use. As we said before, emotional intelligence, and you all said so many times, listening is really important. So make sure that you're looking at the response that you're getting, and also be patient. So this is both verbal and non-verbal feedback to see how what you're doing is landing, and so that you can build effective personalised communication, but it may take some time. And lastly, adapting your style, balancing that without losing your own point of view or voice. So you don't want to be, your intent is to influence someone. You don't want to be overly accommodating that can lead to resistance or misunderstanding. So, for example, you could adjust how you explain something without agreeing to something that you don't believe in. So some things to bear in mind there.
So we've set you a bit of homework, some actions to take away. Just have we've explored the influences, the different types of influence, what can influence us, key components of influencing others, and the different influencing styles. We've talked about recognizing your own style and identifying the styles of others. We discussed how to personalize your communication to be more effective in influencing, and there's some key considerations to keep in mind as you apply these skills. So reflect on your default style. Consider how your natural influencing style impacts your interactions and where you might adapt for better outcomes. Observe and identify other styles. So practice recognizing the influencing styles of colleagues, clients, stakeholders, even people around you in your day-to-day life, and tailor your communication accordingly. Try and apply the personalized communications. So use the insights you've gained to adjust your approach to real conversations. Your aim is clarity, empathy, and effectiveness. And just don't forget about those pitfalls. So remember to stay authentic, avoid stereotyping, monitor the feedback that you're getting, and just be patient because you'll develop these skills over time. So we hope that by consciously applying these principles, you'll enhance your ability to influence positively and you'll build stronger, more collaborative relationships.
Brilliant. Thank you, Flo. So that's the presentation bit, part of it. And we were going to move over to Q&A now. So if there's anything else you'd like to add, please still get those questions in. I'm going to see. Bear with me one moment.
There we go. Hopefully everyone can see the questions.
Ooh. I can't see them.
Can you say it on the bottom?
I can't.
Okay, I'll just stop it and start it again.
3 months premium policy.
If that doesn't work, Catherine, I think I can probably share a tab with them in.
And that's broken down as follows. The insurance premium there is £294.50.
Will I share my screen?
With 12% of insurance premium tax. Of
Yeah, we can do.
Yeah, thank you.
That's the total amount also includes £35 customer service charge
In a minute.
all relevant taxes. So again, total amount paid for is £329.58. Will this be paid by card over?
Getting some audio from somebody. I'm not sure who it's from. There we go.
Thank you. And can you also see Q&A now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that little hiccup. Okay, so top of the pile, we've got, how do you deal with having group meetings where you have multiple people with different styles? So I would say I wouldn't like to not be accommodating to all, but I would be intentional in thinking about because there are often circumstances where you have group meetings, but there is one person who is critical to influence, and it's they're ultimately potentially the decision maker. So without excluding others, if that was a situation, I would probably focus on their particular style. But also, I would be intentional, as I said, probably between. I think there is definitely room for logic and emotion, but push and pull. There is also room for, but I would again be very intentful about what approach you want to take. So bearing in mind what we did say about sort of customizing to your audience, a pull style has the potential to deliver divergence, and if you want convergence, you might choose carefully where you pull rather than push. It's a very wordy answer, but I hope it helps. I mean, I guess the answer is if you really are trying to cater for everybody, you're probably going to be flexing across multiple to try and not exclude anybody. What are your views on how the forces from organisational politics play into your ability to influence? So, my view, please feel free to chip in if anyone else would like to share their view, is that they can have a massive influence. I think in some organisations can be incredibly hierarchical. It can be hard sometimes to even get a platform or a avenue to have that influence. I would say if you're encountering this, don't give up. I would also say don't assume that that's the case. And organisations are humans ultimately. I'd love to quote the person who said that. Not everybody will be like that. So think about how you can build networks and communities and other tactics that might help you be able to build influence. Does anyone else have any recommendations for this that they would like to share or thoughts?
I was just going to back up what you said there about don't assume that you don't have influence, because sometimes you can influence without people almost realizing that that's what you're doing. So if you're building relationships, you're getting to know people and their styles and what works for them, whether to use the emotional, whether to use the logical. You can almost influence the influencers, the people who are going to be in that decision-making room, influence them ahead of time. That would be my sort of tip.
Thank you, Flo. Our next one is, what are the most common pitfalls women in particular fall into when trying to influence? I just said about being prepared. But I don't know, and I wouldn't like to give a response that might be unintentionally rooted in bias. Does anybody else know, or from observation, things that you think women might fall into when trying to influence? or have a hypothesis?
I mean, I can probably give an example.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think from my own experience, I'm not going to generalize and say everybody is the same, because I think we're all different, and it's, yeah, like you say, it's hard to generalize. But I think one thing that I've noticed, especially like earlier on in my leadership career, is trying to please everybody, and just trying to make sure that everyone's on board and being super collaborative and all of that. And I think it's hard then to make your point and to actually influence people when you're trying to bring absolutely everyone on board. And yeah, I've learned that it's important to identify, like you said, I think in an earlier answer, identifying those key decision makers, and focusing on influencing them, while of course being transparent. And if the whatever you're proposing impacts others, obviously bring them on board and bring them on the journey. But yeah, in terms of the actual act of influencing, it's focusing on those right people, the right decision makers. But yeah, that's been my experience.
Thank you, Anna. And I actually think you did make a point, which is it is backed up by some data, which is that I think women are more likely to be people pleasers. So it makes sense that we would see that in how we influence and the style that we adopt. Anyone else got any opinions or anything they want to share on that one?
There's an interesting note in the chat from Cecilia. So hesitating to try without strong evidence, even if a male counterpart might. Hard to find a balance. Making assertions without evidence isn't my style.
Thank you. The next one. Oh, sorry.
I know. I just want to.
Someone talking? I could hear a voice and then I couldn't.
Oh, can you hear me?
It's very quiet.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Can you hear me now?
Just about.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's my audio. Sorry, it's fine. Don't worry. Thank you.
Oh, we can hear you. We can hear you. You can ask something or say something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I'm in a hotel room. No, I was just going to say that what I've observed as a female in tech, that some women try to emulate the behavior of the men around them. And I think sometimes that can be not massively helpful, just because naturally a lot of women can be more sensitive to what's going on and they tend to miss things that men miss. So I think you're better off just leaning in to your natural style and just sticking with it rather than trying to mimic the men around you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicola. That's really good example there. Right, shall we move to the next one? We've got quite a few questions still to go through.
Yeah, sure.
How many we can go through?
We'll get as many as we can, and maybe we could answer some offline.
Yeah.
Flo, I'm going to ask you to answer this one first. What's your preferred influencing style?
Definitely logical, push logical would be mine, I think. So I'm similar to the person who wrote in the chat. I need to have stats, and I feel like numbers can't lie, right?
I'm also a statty person, but I think I tend to pull by my default style, even though sometimes I recognise that's not the potentially the most appropriate, but that's where the default that I tend to lean into. Okay, our next question is, any advice on dealing with people pleasing at a senior level? I might ask the person who asked the question if they're around and are comfortable to share. Do you, in what way do you want to deal with it? You want to stop yourself doing it? You want to do it? What do you want to be the case?
Maybe they're not here anymore.
They may not be here anymore.
we can move on to the next one and
Sure.
have that as the last one.
Yeah.
And then we'll go through our closing
Sure.
stuff.
I would just throw in very quickly, if I disregard the senior level, I'd say for people pleasing generally, boundaries are probably one of the key things that might help you stop doing it if that was the thing that you intended to achieve. How would you approach stakeholders who are very resistant and unmoved by strong data? I would probably try to understand them more. Maybe do like almost like a little bit of empathy mapping and see what are they moved by instead? What do they talk about? What are the things that seem to influence them? Anyone want to chip in on this one?
I think sometimes there are people who prefer to kind of be brought along on the journey, and be involved through the process rather than just being told at the end, this is what we've researched, this is what the data tells us, and therefore this is the recommendation. Some like to be part of that journey in some way, shape, or form, and so sometimes that might help in terms of influencing them, because they're much more likely to obviously agree with what you're saying if they've been part of the process.
Yeah, thank you, Anna.
Okay, I think we will wrap up there with the questions. Thank you very much, Claire and Flo, for running this for us. I think it's been really interesting, and I hope everyone took something away from the session, something that they can actively practice in the near future. Before you all drop off, I just wanted to quickly ask if you can fill out an answer to our impact question. It just lets us know what you're taking away from the session, and it helps us measure the impact that we're having through our events. So we ask this at the end of every event. If you've been to FPL events before, you'll be very familiar with it. But yeah, super important for us to gauge how much impact we're having through the events that we run. So if you can take a couple of seconds to write down an answer, we'd very much appreciate that. But yeah, hopefully everyone enjoyed the session. Let us know what you thought of it, and as always, hope to see you at a future Female Product Lead event. I will pop down the Luma link and the link to our website as well, if it's useful. But yeah, if not, then thank you for joining today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. There's the links. Thanks, Catherine, for putting them on the screen. Thanks, everyone, and hope you have a good end of the week.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye.